Hi, welcome to Teaching Moments. I'm Hillary. So today I want to talk to you about math, specifically the Math U See curriculum. Okay, so I have a video called Math Review that I did a while back. You can go look back, I think it was maybe 10 months ago that it was put up there. And it has a lot of great information about different kinds of curriculums and tips for math. I highly suggest you go look at that. But since I did that, I decided I wanted to go through the Math U See levels specifically and kind of give a breakdown of what you can expect from each level. Okay, so definitely go back and look at that one math review. I had some really good information there. But today I want to go through math level Zeta. I don't know if I said that right, so if I didn't, please forgive me. But okay, so it's this one, Zeta. Okay, so this is, if you are doing Math U See, you already know that they have blocks to use with the math curriculum. Hence called Math U See, so they can see it. They can use more of their senses while doing math, and it helps them to usually understand math a little bit better. That's the whole idea behind it. And so if you are using the math blocks, you will know that the light purple one is number 6. And so this would be like the 6th book or the 6th level, not counting the primer, which is like equal to like preschool. So this would be like book 6. Just so you know, it took me a while to actually figure that out. But yes, that's what the colors mean. They coordinate with the levels and the numbers of the blocks. Okay, so as with all Math U See curriculum, when you buy a teacher packet, you will get a DVD that has, I call him Steve. What's his last name? Oh, forgive me, I forgot your last name, Steve. It has him teaching to a classroom, but you only see him. You hear the kids, but you only see him. Steve Demi. Has him teaching. You only see him though, but you do hear the kids. And so I watch the video every single time with my oldest child. And that way I know what's going on. They don't always know what's going on. I still have to usually explain it to them. I come over here to our board and explain to my kiddo whatever pieces they needed filled in that they didn't understand from what he taught. Some kids can pick up on his teaching just fine. Other kids cannot. And but then when I go with the next couple of kids, it depends on the kiddo if this is helpful, if the video is helpful or not. But it's always helpful for me to know how to teach my child. And then, so the teacher packet has the video and it has the teacher's manual in here. And here you have lessons. It will have a little information about the lesson. I'm trying to find one first, right here. A little information about the lesson, and then it will give you some examples. And then at the back of all those is the answers to the worksheets, the tests, and worksheets and tests. So this is the teacher packet. It is what you get in that. Okay, so there's that for the teacher packet. And then for the student packet, there will be a student workbook. This one is my son's, and he's almost done with this book. Yes. Almost done with this book, but I know there's a ton of worksheets. That's because we don't do every single worksheet. I used to, and my kids got behind because I did every single worksheet. You do not have to do every single worksheet. I actually even called them before Math U See and asked a little bit about their program and had a lot of questions for them. I was in a dire situation where I really needed their help, and they were super helpful, almost too helpful. They gave me so many resources that it almost made my head spin, but it was really great. They gave me some great resources. So they even said, you don't have to do every single worksheet. Just do what you need to do to have your child understand what it is they're trying to learn. So anyway, this is the work text, and it just has the worksheets that the child will do. They do tear out. So it has the worksheets, and then you have the tests, booklet tests. So that's what you get in the student packet and in the teacher packet. Okay, And that's the same for all Math U See, the curriculum. Okay, so this we're talking about is the Zeta. Anyway, it's this one. This comes after the fraction book and before the pre-algebra book, okay? And so it teaches decimals and percentages. I didn't use the blocks much at all with this level. You can use it sometimes, but we didn't need it near as much. Also, when you're looking at the student workbook, I'll have to I'll just show you the last one. I'll show you the second to last one. There are the application and enrichment sheets are the letter G. And these are application and enrichment sheets, and they're not usually about what the lesson was about that time. Sometimes it teaches on something entirely different, or they're just kind of a way to apply things that they've learned. But sometimes it can be a new lesson in itself. I've been told that you can skip those sheets altogether, the G sheets, when you go through any Math U See curriculum. However, I have found in both the fraction book and this book, but since we're just talking about this book, that it is very helpful. The G sheets are. They teach a lot about graphs and negative numbers, so I suggest that you don't skip those. So they'll do one kind of graph, and the next G paper they'll do another kind of graph, and then the next G paper they might do negative numbers, and the next G paper they do a whole nother type of graph. And those were the main things they talked about on the G sheets in this book, and it was kind of like whole lessons in themselves, and they really liked those, and I think they were great explanations. So I suggest you do not skip the G sheets in this level. Okay, so they also have a few chapters on solving for the unknown, which is an introduction to algebra. The last 4 chapters of this level is geometry, the basic intro to geometry. I suppose if you were behind and you wanted to skip those, you could to move them on. But we are doing them because I think it's a good introduction. I thought this book was good for explaining and working with percents and decimals. I thought they explained it well. I also felt like as the parent teacher that it wasn't too difficult for me. As my kids are getting older and growing, I sometimes wonder, am I going to be able to keep up? I know, especially for math, sometimes parents will outsource that to a co-op or someone who was a math teacher or something like that. So I do worry sometimes about, can I keep up? I didn't feel like I had that problem at all with this book. I feel like Mr. Demi talks about it clearly enough on the video that I understand where he's going with it. And I was able to, also using his concepts and ideas, to be able to explain it to my students, to my kids. Okay, so as a parent, I was not overwhelmed. I thought they did well. Okay, so I do have to say this. Most of the Math U See curriculum, I've noticed the pattern, and obviously at the beginning of the year, the beginning of the book, they're gonna have it's gonna be the basic introductions, the basic idea of whatever they're teaching. And then they get deeper and deeper and deeper into it. So by the time you get to almost the end of the book, they're like very deep into it. And so what that means for like decimals and percentages is like you're dividing out to the several place values back in the decimal number. And sometimes I don't think the kids need to really get that deep with any of the books, because there's a point where I don't like to teach just to fill time. I like to teach my kids things that they're actually going to use in the world. And I do believe they need to learn all these things. And yes, it gives them critical thinking and logical thinking, and it helps to form their minds. But there's a point that we get to, especially if you have kids that hate math or don't understand it, or there's tears when there's math, then there comes to a point when you're like, okay, is this really helping us? Or is this hurting us more? Because you know what, real life, what are most of us adults going to do? We're going to whip out our calculator and throw it in there and see what happens. And that's what they actually do in high schools Nowadays, they didn't when I was a kid, but now they let them use their calculators often as long as they understand the operation that they're supposed to use and how they're supposed to set up the problem, then they can use the calculator. So I do think, of course, they do need to understand the concept, know what they're doing, but when they're getting further and further and further and further, there's a point when it's like, okay, you understand it, let's just go ahead and move on to the next chapter. So there was some chapters I skipped because I felt like it was very repetitive and we didn't need to do that. So that was kind of nice. But that is totally up to you if you want to have your student to learn it more. If it's a student who loves math or who's going to be in a field that is math driven, you might really want to do that. Totally up to you. Just thought I'd give you that piece of thought there that I had about it. Let's see. Okay, so I think that I'm looking at my notes here to make sure I've got everything. Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to break these levels down a little bit further so that you guys could understand what this book was about. That's my breakdown for the book. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it was helpful for you. Be sure to click like and subscribe to my channel to get notifications anytime I post a new video. Thank you so much for watching.